The wind cut through the city like a blade. Marcus Hale pulled his jacket tighter as he stepped out of the late shift, shoulders aching from 12 hours on a warehouse floor. His breath fogged the air, mixing with exhaust and the distant sound of traffic. It was one of those nights where the cold felt personal, like it had something against you. He checked his wallet out of habit. $23. That was it. Enough for groceries if he was careful. Enough to get through the week. Not enough for mistakes. Marcus started toward the bus stop when he noticed a shape curled against the brick wall near the alley. At first, he thought it was a pile of trash bags. Then the shape moved. A man sat there, wrapped in a thin, frayed coat that did nothing against the cold. His hands were red, cracked. His beard was gray and unkempt, his eyes tired but alert. "Spare some change," the man asked quietly. No drama, no guilt, just a question. Marcus slowed, then stopped. He thought about his daughter, Lily, asleep at home, about the empty fridge, about how every dollar mattered. Then he remembered something his mother used to say. "You'll never regret helping someone who truly needs it." Marcus reached into his wallet. Not the coins, not a few dollars. He pulled out the entire bill, $20, and placed it gently into the man's hand. The beggar looked up, startled. "You don't have to." "I know," Marcus said, "but tonight, you need it more than I do." Their eyes met. Something unreadable passed between them. "Thank you," the man said softly. Marcus nodded and walked away, not knowing that the man he'd just helped wasn't homeless at all. And that by morning, everything in Marcus's life was about to change. Morning came too fast. Marcus barely slept. The cold night, the empty wallet, the weight of responsibility, all of it pressed down on him as he dressed quietly in the small apartment. Lily was still asleep, curled beneath her blanket, clutching her favorite stuffed bear. Marcus paused to watch her breathe, steady and peaceful. "I'll figure it out," he whispered, more to himself than to her. Today mattered. He adjusted his tie in the cracked bathroom mirror. It wasn't new, but it was clean. The interview invitation sat on his phone like a fragile hope. Operations coordinator, mid-level management. A chance to move up. A chance to breathe. The bus was late. Marcus checked his watch, then the street. His stomach tightened. He couldn't afford to be late. Not today. When the bus finally arrived, it lurched forward through traffic, stopping at every light, every corner. By the time Marcus stepped off downtown, he was already behind schedule. The building rose in front of him, glass, steel, intimidating. He jogged the last half block, breath shallow, shoes slick on the pavement. Inside, the lobby buzzed with quiet professionalism. "Interview for the operations coordinator role," he said to the receptionist, forcing calm. She glanced at the clock. "You're just in time." Relief washed over him. As he was escorted down the hallway, Marcus noticed the framed photos lining the walls. Company founders, major investors, leadership portraits. Faces of people who never worried about bus schedules or grocery money. Then they stopped outside a conference room. "Please wait here," the assistant said. The door opened moments later. And Marcus froze. At the head of the table sat the same man from the alley. Clean, shaven now. Tailored suit. Calm, sharp eyes. The beggar from last night looked directly at him and smiled. "Good morning," the man said. "Marcus Hale, right?" Marcus swallowed hard. "Yes." The man stood and extended his hand. "I'm Victor Langley," he said, "and I believe you helped me when you didn't have to." Marcus shook Victor Langley's hand, his grip firm but his thoughts spinning. For a moment, the conference room felt too small, the air too thin. The polished table, the neatly stacked folders, the city skyline beyond the windows. None of it matched the memory burned into his mind of a man hunched in an alley, shivering beneath a flickering streetlight. Marcus began, then stopped. He didn't know what to say. "I thought you were homeless," felt wrong. "I didn't know who you were," felt unnecessary. Victor gestured toward the chair across from him. "Please, sit." Marcus obeyed, smoothing his jacket, suddenly aware of every crease. Two other interviewers entered quietly and took their seats, nodding politely. This wasn't a setup, Marcus realized. This was real. Victor folded his hands on the table. "Before we begin," he said calmly, "I want to make something clear. What happened last night has no bearing on this interview. You're here because your qualifications stood out." Marcus nodded, though his chest was tight. "Understood." Still, Victor's eyes softened for just a second. "That said, character matters. And you showed yours when no one was watching." The interview began. Questions came fast: logistics, leadership, conflict resolution. Marcus answered honestly, drawing from years of juggling work schedules, parenting, and problem-solving under pressure. As he spoke, his nerves slowly settled. This was his world: responsibility, resilience, showing up even when it hurt. Victor listened intently, occasionally exchanging glances with the others. At the end, Victor stood. "Thank you, Marcus. We'll be in touch." Marcus rose, unsure what to feel. Hope, fear, both tangled together. As he reached the door, Victor added quietly, "No matter what happens next, last night mattered." Marcus stepped into the hallway, heart pounding, realizing that sometimes the smallest choices echo louder than the biggest plans. Marcus didn't sleep that night. He lay awake, listening to the hum of the refrigerator, replaying every second of the interview. Victor's words echoed louder than the questions themselves. Last night mattered. Marcus didn't know whether that was a comfort or a warning. 2 days passed with no call. By the third morning, Marcus had convinced himself the interview was a polite dead end. He packed lunches, tied shoelaces, and walked his daughter to school with the same steady smile he always wore. Life didn't pause for hope. That afternoon, his phone rang. Unknown number. Marcus hesitated before answering. "Hello." "Marcus Lang," Victor's voice said calmly. "This is Victor Hale." Marcus straightened instantly. "Yes, sir." "I'll be direct," Victor continued. "The board approved you for the operations role, but that's not why I'm calling." Silence stretched between them. "I want to offer you something different," Victor said. "A short-term position. Work directly with me. See how decisions are made before they ripple outward." Marcus frowned. "You mean an assistant role?" Victor exhaled softly. "No, a partner in perspective. Someone who understands consequences beyond spreadsheets." Marcus felt his pulse quicken. This wasn't the ladder he expected, but it was a door. "I won't pretend it's safe," Victor added. "You'd be visible, questioned, judged." Marcus thought of rain-soaked pavement, of choosing kindness when no one asked. "I've been judged before," Marcus said quietly. "I can handle it." Victor paused, then said, almost warmly, "Good. Come in Monday." The call ended. Marcus stared at the phone, heart racing. Not with fear this time, but with something far rarer. Possibility. Marcus arrived early on Monday, earlier than he ever had for any job. The building was still quiet, its glass walls reflecting a version of himself he'd barely recognized. Pressed shirt, borrowed tie, shoulders squared with purpose instead of worry. Yet beneath the calm, doubt pressed heavily. Victor met him outside the executive floor, no entourage, no assistants hovering nearby. "You don't have to impress anyone today," Victor said as they walked. "Just observe." That turned out to be harder than expected. Meetings unfolded like carefully staged performances. Numbers were praised, losses softened with language, and decisions were framed as inevitabilities rather than choices. Marcus listened, silent but alert, noticing what went unsaid more than what was spoken. At lunch, Victor led him to a small conference room overlooking the city. "You're wondering why you're here," Victor said, pouring coffee. "I am," Marcus admitted. "I don't have an MBA. I don't belong in these rooms." Victor studied him. "That's exactly why you do." He slid a folder across the table. Inside were reports, projects approved quickly, layoffs justified efficiently. Marcus recognized the pattern. Speed over people. Numbers over lives. You saw the result of one of these decisions, Victor said quietly. In the rain. Marcus closed the folder slowly. Saying yes to this role suddenly felt heavier than any rejection he'd ever faced. This wasn't just opportunity, it was responsibility. If I stay, Marcus said carefully, I won't stay quiet. Victor nodded once. Then stay. Marcus looked out at the city below, thinking of his daughter's steady faith in him. He picked up the folder and chose to stay. Marcus's first official week felt less like a promotion and more like stepping on unstable ground. His desk sat just outside Victor's office, close enough to overhear conversations that once would have been invisible to him. Now, every word carried weight. He wasn't given authority right away, just access. Victor involved him in reviews, strategy calls, internal audits. Marcus listened, asked careful questions, and slowly began to speak when something didn't sit right. At first, the room would go quiet. Executives exchanged looks and used to being challenged by someone without pedigree. But Marcus didn't argue with emotion. He spoke with clarity. This projection doesn't account for human loss, he said during one meeting. You'll save money this quarter, but pay for it in retention and trust. Silence followed, then a begrudging nod. After hours, Victor stayed late with him, walking through decisions line by line. You're not here to burn the system down, Victor said one night. You're here to change how it breathes. At home, Marcus's daughter noticed the difference. He was tired, but lighter, more present. He helped with homework, cooked real dinners, listened instead of worrying. Still, doubt lingered. Was he being used as a conscience without power? Or was this how real change began, quietly, from inside? One evening, Marcus found an internal proposal on his desk, a restructuring plan, with a handwritten note on top. Your call. Marcus stared at it, heart pounding. This time, the choice wouldn't just affect him. It would affect hundreds. Marcus didn't sign the proposal that night. He took it home, read it again after his daughter fell asleep, then read it a third time at the kitchen table while the city hummed outside the window. The plan was fair. More than fair, actually. It restored positions, protected departments that had been quietly gutted, and set limits on future cuts. It also put Victor in a difficult position. The next morning, Marcus walked into the office early. Victor was already there, jacket off, sleeves rolled up, staring at the skyline like it might answer him. You didn't sign, Victor said without turning. I won't, Marcus replied evenly. Not unless we commit to this publicly. No quiet fixes, no backroom reversals. Victor finally looked at him. There was no anger, only something heavier. Respect mixed with uncertainty. You're pushing hard, Victor said. Because people don't get second chances like this, Marcus answered. And if I'm here just to make things look better, I'm done. The air shifted. For the first time, Victor smiled. Not the polished one from press conferences, but something real. You're not wrong, he said quietly. From that day on, the tone changed. Conversations lingered. Glances lasted longer than necessary. They disagreed, challenged each other, laughed at moments that shouldn't have been funny. Marcus felt it, and hated that he did. This wasn't part of the deal. This wasn't safe. And yet, when Victor asked him to stay late again, Marcus said yes. Because somewhere between shared silence and shared purpose, the lines had already begun to blur. The office lights dimmed automatically at 9. Most floors were empty now, the building reduced to soft hums and distant elevators. Marcus sat across from Victor in the conference room, spreadsheets forgotten on the table between them. Rain tapped gently against the glass, turning the city below into streaks of silver. You could have walked away, Victor said suddenly. After everything. Marcus didn't answer right away. He watched the rain, then the reflection of their two silhouettes in the window, separate, yet close enough to blur. I've spent my life fixing things quietly, he said. Cars, problems, people's messes. I leave before anyone notices. Victor leaned back, studying him. And now I'm tired of pretending I don't matter. Silence settled. Not awkward, not heavy, honest. Victor stood, gathering his jacket. Then stay, he said. Not a command, a choice. Marcus felt the weight of it. Staying meant risk, rumors, power imbalance, complications he'd spent years avoiding. But leaving meant something worse, regret. He stood too, close enough to notice the faint crease between Victor's brows when he was thinking too hard. I'm staying, Marcus said softly, but on my terms. Victor nodded once. That's the only way I'd want it. They didn't touch. They didn't need to. Some decisions aren't loud. Some promises don't need words. And that night, Marcus chose not to walk away. Morning arrived without ceremony. No dramatic sunrise. No sudden clarity. Just gray light filtering through the glass walls of the office as Marcus stepped out of the elevator and into a space that felt different, because he was different. Whispers followed him almost immediately. Not sharp this time. Curious. Measured. People noticed when he didn't keep his head down anymore. When he walked beside Victor instead of step behind. When his opinions were asked for and listened to in meetings that once passed him by like he was invisible. At 10 sharp, the executive board gathered. Victor stood at the head of the table, calm, unflinching. Marcus sat halfway down, hands folded, pulse steady. This wasn't about defending himself anymore. It was about owning the truth. I won't entertain speculation, Victor said evenly. But I will be clear. Eyes shifted, back straightened. Marcus is here because he earned it. His work saved this division millions. His integrity saved something more important. A pause. Anyone with concerns can bring them to me. Directly. No one spoke. Later, in the hallway, a few coworkers nodded. One murmured, respect. Another simply smiled. It wasn't approval Marcus felt. It was relief. At lunch, he stepped outside alone, phone buzzing with a photo from his daughter. A crooked drawing. Two figures standing side by side. The caption read, "Daddy looks brave today." Marcus closed his eyes for a moment. Standing in the open wasn't easy, but hiding had been harder. And for the first time in a long while, he felt steady, exactly where he was meant to be. The city looked different from the rooftop. Not brighter, not softer, just honest. Marcus stood near the railing, jacket pulled tight against the wind, watching the streets far below pulse with movement. Somewhere down there, people were rushing, worrying, hoping, just like he had for so long. Victor joined him, 2 coffees in hand. You earned this view, he said, offering one. Marcus accepted it. Still feels strange. That doesn't go away, Victor replied. It just means you remember where you came from. Later that afternoon, the announcement went out company-wide. Official. Permanent. Marcus's role was no longer temporary or conditional. No asterisks. No quiet doubts. When the applause came, it wasn't loud, but it was real. That evening, Marcus picked up his daughter from school. She ran to him, backpack bouncing, eyes shining. Did you win today? He laughed, kneeling to her level. I think we both did. At home, they cooked together, made a mess, laughed too loud. Marcus pinned her newest drawing to the fridge. This one showed a man standing tall under an open sky. As night settled, Marcus sat on the couch, exhaustion finally catching up. Not the heavy kind, the earned kind. Luck hadn't saved him. Kindness hadn't been wasted. And doing the right thing, when no one was watching, had quietly come back around. Some endings don't close doors. They open them. Do you believe integrity always finds its way back? If this story moved you, like, subscribe, and comment below.